Hello and welcome to Burnout, the weekly drag racing show. I'm your host, Wes Buck, and we are so excited to have you. We have a crazy big show for you today, but before we dive into all those topics, let's check in with my co-host, Mike Galimi and Alex Taylor. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, Wes. Just hanging out in New York and looking forward to today's show.
Alex, you okay?
Yeah, doing good. Stuck in Arkansas, but we're a little less locked down, so I'm ready for today, though.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, guys, pull those belts tight and get ready because we've got a great one for you. It's happening, friends. The innovative spirit and the problem-solving nature of racers are starting to turn the tide. While we're clearly a long ways away from a return to normal, a host of drag racing's best-known facilities are working hard to reopen amidst this global coronavirus pandemic and the social distancing guidelines that have been put in place. Russell Miller, owner and operator of the legendary Darlington Dragway in South Carolina, went public with his plans to reopen this very weekend in an exclusive interview on dragillustrated.com. Miller explained that after submitting his application to reopen under the guidelines of an essential business, he was granted near immediate approval. He intends to host as many as 40 race cars this weekend, all the while adhering to strict social distancing guidelines. Virginia Motorsports Park's Tyler Crossnow and Summit Motorsports Park's Bill Bader Jr. have both been vocal in recent days as to their painfully strong desires to reopen as well. According to an after-hours Facebook Live broadcast, Bader and company will soon be announcing a return to racing. Our sources at Virginia Motorsports Park, however, indicate that Crossnow and team continue to encounter roadblocks from state and local government. Here's hoping those tracks, and all tracks for that matter, are calling cars to the staging lanes in the very near future. In the meantime, though, it's going to be critical that racing facilities are able to resume private test sessions and track rentals as soon as possible. Tracks across the country generate tremendous revenue from these oft-daily happenings. We here at Burnout wish good health and safety for everyone and appreciate the measures being taken to keep people safe. However, if we can golf, we can race. Continuing with news from the event space, ProMedia announced earlier this week that they will combine their season-opening NMCA and NMRA events into a single date, May 28th through 31st, at St. Louis, Missouri's Worldwide Technology Raceway. The combo event will be rebranded as the Scoggin-Dickey Parts Center NMRA NMCA Power Festival. I don't know about you guys, but I love this approach, and I think we're going to see more of it. Matter of fact, we've already seen a similar move from Donald Long, who will be turning two of his events, the rescheduled Sweet 16 and October's No Mercy, into 10 days at South Georgia Motorsports Park later this fall. Speaking of South Georgia Motorsports Park, there was major news out of the Southeast late last week when Wade Rich, longtime track manager at Ozzie Moya's Orlando Speed World Dragway, who also owns South Georgia, announced he would be leaving his post and joining forces with Victor Alvarez at Bradenton Motorsports Park. Rich is well known for his skill and track prep experience, having provided record-setting surfaces in Orlando and Valdosta for years. We'll check in with Donald Long, who has championed Rich's ability for several seasons, and get his thoughts on this move later in the show. And that is the Week in Review. For this week's Three Big Things, we're painting a really wide swath. We're going to touch a little bit on the industry's efforts to engage racers and fans during these socially distanced times, talk a little bit about the Cannonball run, and my thoughts and feelings on this track prep guru trend that we've seen in drag racing over the course of the last few years. Mike, what's your take on these trying times and the industry's efforts to connect?
I think a lot of companies are doing a great job kind of seizing the moment. It's been fun to watch. There are a lot of great companies doing some marketing efforts to engage their fans, their customers. Like Lethal Performance, it's a big Mustang parts group. They have like this whole big sticker campaign, beer glasses, great videos, happy hours, where the owner does just crazy things like shaving his eyebrows off. I mean, just nuts to keep people engaged, entertained, and keep their brand in front of them. I know racers like Alex Laughlin, who we'll talk to later on the show, is doing stuff with Hot Wheels. Tucson Dragway had just this amazing drag race with Alan Reinhart making the call with video camera angles. It's been fun to watch.
These Loans, Brian Loans, the primary announcer in the NHRA, or one of the big personalities on the Fox Sports broadcast, his voiceover work on some of these videos it's been tremendous. I don't know that I can say enough about it. I've watched the lawn mowing one and the cooking one a couple of times. Yeah. It's that, to be honest, I like seeing everybody forced to be creative. Like, hey, you better put your thinking hat on, because you got to come up with something a little bit different, because you can't just post pictures of your, food every day or whatever. If you're going to engage people, the cool thing that we've said, and we've talked about this a little bit, these online car shows and stuff like that, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more like video challenges and stuff like that. But I do think that time's coming.
I think it's really cool to
Yeah.
see kind of like the creativity reset almost, because you have, manufacturers and racers and everybody in between working to be creative and connect. And it's kind of like everybody's on the same page rather than everybody's doing their own separate agenda right now. I think that's really cool.
That is the silver lining to this all. I truly believe the silver lining to this coronavirus pandemic and is the working together idness that is taking place right now, because I see a whole lot of people, a lot of bridges being built, a lot of people crossing bridges that maybe they wouldn't before. I'm hearing stories of track promoters calling other track promoters and, hey, here's something that worked really well for us. You guys should try it. So bravo to the entire industry for doing their best to keep all of us entertained. Because I don't know about you guys, but I liken myself at the bare minimum or at the core, the ultimate drag racing fan, right? Like I'm just the biggest fan of drag racing. So shout out to all of y'all. Keep it coming, because you got some time to fill. You've got some time to fill. So Alex, what's your take on this Cannonball run situation? I know you've got some strong thoughts on it.
So hear me out here. I know it's not a drag racing topic, but granted, we're not able to be setting records in drag racing right now because we're pretty much shut down. But with the Cannonball run, they did take advantage and reset a record last week. An unknown team went coast to coast in 26 hours and 38 minutes. And to me, that's just, I can't even imagine that. And I think as automotive enthusiasts and car lovers, we can all appreciate somebody chasing their personal best and going to set a record.
It's part of drag racing. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
It's fun. I mean, Cannonball Run's been just such a staple in our segment. I mean, from the movies to the real life, setting of it. And then, like you said, someone that set the record, AMS Performance guys that set the record, before the holidays. And hey, a lot less cars on the road, take advantage of the moment and chase it down.
So when you say unknown, Alex, what's the statute of limitations on traffic laws? I mean, because I'm sure that's why this is all such a mystery, right? Everybody's got to be, because I don't know the exact numbers. And I think, Alex, you mentioned in some pre-production stuff, they averaged 100 something.
Over 103. Yeah. And that's insane. And I saw, granted, I don't know, all the details behind this. I'm becoming more and more interested, but, to see those times and to see that happen, that's mind blowing. But I can imagine why they're not saying anything, because they probably don't.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty proud of some of my exploits behind the wheel of like a crew cab dually, towing across the United States or whatever to go to some race. But averaging 103 miles per hour across the United States is hard to fathom. But I tell you, you're exactly right. There's a multitude of connections to drag racing on this. I think that any racer worth of salt can relate to a road trip or has been on a barn burner of a road trip, some cross country race or some points series or whatever, where they put a bunch of miles on their vehicle. And secondly, you nailed it. Like Mike can probably speak on this with the NMCA and NMRA connection, how important those records are to everybody. I mean, there's a lot of people that they go to the racetrack and they're just looking to set their career best. Like if they win a round or two, fantastic, right? But they're really there to set their career best.
Well, I mean, drag racing is built on, like the hope and expectation and planning, all of this planning going on. And if you can achieve a personal best or a class record or a micro record that, some of the internet folks chase, it's a big accomplishment, right? You set a goal for yourself and you accomplish it, and no one can take that away from you.
It's a big deal, man. I remember this vividly. I went racing with my dad. It was Father's Day weekend. We were running Comp Eliminator, right? And we had this small block powered door car, and it ran like a 497 in the 8th mile on this particular run. And we lost in the first round. We broke out. So I go towing down the return road on the four-wheeler, Kawasaki Bayou, shout out, right? Brr, down the return road, and I pick my dad up, and I'm down in the dumps, right? Like really, like literally almost, I was like probably 14, wiping a tear from my eye that we lost in first round on Father's Day, right? Unbelievable. I get down there and my dad is like Ted Nugent, rock and roll kicking, fist pumping. And I'm going, what is your deal, man? And he's like, career best. There ain't a person here that doesn't know we got the fastest door car in town, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, we just lost. We broke out by like 300s. And he's like, so what? Load that thing up. We've proved our point. And I'm going, wow. I guess we're here to set records and career best. I mean, who cares about getting a W, And it's honestly, it's something that's driven me crazy over the years, but I totally get it. So, anyways, I'm glad you brought it up, and it allowed us to, talk about something that isn't just burnouts and launches and straight down the drag strip stuff. So, good work, Alex. For me this week, I wanted to touch on just the trend that I've seen develop really since the middle 2000s, I think, of these really high powered track prep gurus, the guys that come in, the hired gun track managers or the hired gun race operators. And I'm just curious, as we kind of all adjust to life after coronavirus, and we see all these tracks, like we just talked about how they're being super creative to engage fans. I also think we're going to see them being super aggressive and super creative to reduce overhead, to cut costs where they can. And I'm just curious about your guys' opinions on this, from a promoter and a sanctioning body perspective, as well as a racer's perspective. Are we going to see the onus thrust more upon the regular weekend track team? Because I feel like track promoters are going to have to look at things like glue expense and all these equipment that's starting to become expected, the rotators, the better drags, the sweepers, all the different equipment that is kind of becoming expected. Like I said, it's becoming a standard. Do you feel we're going to see a move away from that?
I think it's going to go in two directions. I think you're going to look at some of the tracks who went overboard. Not, I won't say overboard, but really exceptional job, and the cost associated with it, like you said. And I know when we did it with NMRA and NMCA about 6 or 7 years ago, the cost went up 5 times in our glue. And
Wow.
it's a pretty significant step. Yeah.
And that's to cater to radial tire racers, Mike?
A little bit of everything, from pro mod to radial to even, the index guys, and give them a consistent track prep during the day that we race in the summer, and just be consistent from place to place so they can plan better and do better. And we are by far not a duck race at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday night, in February or October. I mean, it's July. And it takes time. It takes away from the show a little bit. So you have to be mindful of that. And I think you're going to see a balance. I think, but you're also going to see some of the tracks, like you look at Cecil County, who invested heavily into, redoing their track surface, investing in the equipment, and making that better for the weekly guys. So I think you're going to see a meet in the middle, from the extreme on one end to, tracks that maybe, did a good job, but needed to update their equipment and do a better one.
Alex, I'm curious for your perspective on as a drag week racer, a drag week competitor, a Rocky Mountain Race Week competitor. Mm-hmm. I don't know the ins and outs of the track prep program at events like that. Is that kind of a start at the beginning of the day? And Mike, I know you've competed on this as well. You could speak to this, because what I'm asking, and I guess what I kind of have this pipe dream that we will develop at some point, some sort of universal standard, if you will, for here's the way a track's prepped. And I don't know if it's this combination of track temperature, ambient air temperature, and cloud cover, and this is the formula. This is what everybody does. But how do they approach the track prep at Drag Week? Because it's kind of a started at the beginning and let people run, right?
Right. So we go from, we're 4 different tracks throughout the week. So there's definitely hasn't been previously a very consistent track to track thing. And I think it's one of those things you have to think about, like, as a racer, of course, like a common conversation I think that everybody could attest to, somebody complaining about the track prep, somebody's gonna complain, somebody's gonna be happy about it. So there's not gonna really be somebody, satisfying everybody. So I think as we keep tracks trying to keep their expenses in mind and trying to keep tracks open, I think racers are going to have to be mindful of that, and then track owners be mindful of, racers are out there spending their time and money. So it's going to be a balancing act. I think that'll be, it would be great to have a standard.
I think it would be great to have a standard, but at the same time, I almost welcome wild changes. I would almost welcome, crazy changes from track to track, because I honestly think that's where racers really show what they've got,
That's
if
true.
they're willing to,
Right.
Honestly, like in the circles that my family ran in and raced in, just to be honest, you kind of poked at the guys that weren't willing to change their car. Right. Like, oh, track's bad, we're not going to get down. And it's like, whoa, all those bolts, all that stuff moves for a reason, right?
Right.
All these settings, that 4-way adjustable for a reason or whatever.
Right.
And so I actually kind of welcome it, because I just feel like we've developed this home run derby, all or none mentality for drag racing, where the expectation has become that the track's going to be phenomenal. You're going to be
Right.
able to set a world record on July 4th or whatever the case may be. And I just don't really think that's what drag racing is about. But that may be a conversation for another day. Thank you guys so much for your participation in this, man. I really think our big three, I believe I said this last week, but I'm going to say it again. This is where we really flex our muscles. This is where we have the opportunity to kind of provide a little opinionated editorial, say what we think, and ultimately have to stand behind it. So thanks, guys. On to the next one. I believe that I have a doozy for you guys this week. For reaction time, I dug into the photo archives that we are so blessed to have access to and found this incredible photo all lit up, my friends, from Santa Pod Raceway, one of their Dragstalgia events. Here's a legit fire burnout. I'm curious, Alex, I mean, would you be up for this in the old 68 Camaro?
Not in the Camaro. I'm scared of fire. I mean, I think that's a natural instinct, right? Like,
Oh,
no?
racers are terrified of fire. Ask Will Ferrell, right? Racers are terrified of fire. Yeah, fire is a real problem.
Yeah,
My thing on this, and I don't know if Mike's. I mean, we've all seen the posters, right? The posters of the old Don Garlits photos. This is that you would think that there's two things. Might think this is from like 1970. And you also might think that this is a tragic accident. But I assure you, this was on purpose and everyone survived, or we would not be laughing about it now. Like, this was an intentional effort. Apparently, they set out to recreate one of those classic drag racing photos with a fire burnout over in the UK. And I got to tell you, I think they pulled it off.
There's a cool factor there. But
it's definitely a lot more intense than a lot of the ones you've seen from the 60s.
Right.
Those are a lot smaller flames, almost like this one was like, oh boy, we had a little too much gasoline on this one.
Right. I feel like this is a little bit too much kind of over as a whole. I think the whole team is like, well, how much gas did they throw down?
Yeah, like, it sounded like a good idea at the time.
Like, accidentally on purpose. Like, it's not.
One guy was laughing, the rest not so much.
Yeah, thank God someone caught this photo, because I don't know that anybody would ever believe that this actually happened. And if you zoom in close, and I'm not sure if our production team can shine a light on this, but man, the fire's literally in front of the guy's helmet.
Yes.
Like, he's literally staring at fire. I think for the most part, Don Garlits and everybody else that participated in the original fire burnout movement, the fire stayed largely behind them. Again, I'm not so sure that we haven't been punked here or something, that this is like a bad accident or something. But I kid. It was I got to give them a massive A for effort. If we're going to give out awards here on Burnout, maybe this is the first ever. I'm divvying out gold stars like left and right. This guy deserves 5, at least a pat on the back and a real award. A for effort, my friend. A for effort. How can you even have a drag racing news show and not talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Donald the Duck Long, the mayor of drag radio racing? Donald, how are you, my man?
Good, brother. Good. Glad to be here, man. Glad to talk about something other than COVID-19.
Isn't that the truth, man? I mean, unfortunately, it's like the elephant not in the room, but in the world, right? It's unavoidable. We're all fighting this battle day in and day out. And I'm just curious, as you kind of reflect back on the last few weeks, how do you feel? And can you kind of walk us through that decision of pulling the plug or postponing the Sweet 16? I can't imagine what that must have felt like and what that experience must have been like.
I mean, it was definitely, a bad shot in the gut. It was, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was depressed about it. I don't like to ever change or postpone. I'll run through blizzards, tornadoes, hurricanes.
You've done it.
I've done it. You know what I mean? And I would have, if I thought it was safe, I would have ran through this one. The problem that we ran into was talking with the mayor and stuff, was that we would get everybody in one place. And basically, he sent out the letter, doing the recommendations on what they wanted us to do. And I was afraid. I didn't feel like it was fair for racers, fans, or anybody to make the haul down there to get on the planes. And I've done it. I've been that guy who flew up to Englishtown, and by the time my plane landed, it got canceled. So I didn't want anybody to feel like that. I didn't want anybody to spend any extra money. I knew it was going to be bad on how many people already had spent, plane tickets and all that. But I was assured by Expedia and everybody that we talked to that we were going to be able to get these things rearranged due to, being a virus. So I checked in all that before I made the decision to pull the plug on it.
It's amazing that you thought about like taking it that far, right? Like that you would even think to call Expedia. And I mean, I suppose at this point in time, you couldn't, you have to feel good about having made that decision, right?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I still wasn't real happy, obviously with having to do it because I wanted to keep, you want to keep everything going. You want to keep America going. I mean, who knew it was going to get this bad? But I'll tell you when it sank in and I thought, you know what? I made the right decision was when Bobby Bennett from Competition Plus actually said that he got it, went through everything. And I thought, man, this guy would have been up in the tower with me on those exact dates if he would have been there. And then, I don't want to be the person that kills anybody, especially, here we go down to the food tent. Now I'm with my parents. How would that feel if I killed my own parents? You know what I mean? Dragging this thing around. And so it was a call that just had to be made,
So with all the changes, obviously in the short term, you've got your events rescheduled for October, back-to-back weekends. You guys starting to plan on, what's the event's going to look like from here on out? Like, where do we go from here? Has it kind of been talking to the mayor, talking to the track? What are your thoughts?
So I feel like the Sweet 16 type of racing is going to be what you're going to be seeing coming up. Like, not getting away from the whole question, but I think you're going to see this all come back, obviously, in a smaller way. I don't think that anybody is just going to open up and go, okay, let's put 60,000 people in a football stadium next Sunday. You know what I mean? That's not the way it's going to open back up. I think that, I think there's going to be some pay-per-view or some live feed. There's going to be some stuff like that going on. I'm hoping by October, obviously I hope everything's great for No Mercy. I feel 100% sure that having 500 or 600 people in one place outdoors, I don't think that's going to be any problem by October. And I hope that everybody, getting together outside will be better. But I'm definitely planning on smaller shootouts with just, if we have to, just with racers and crew and no spectators, if that's what we have to do.
Well, it feels like you're ready to embrace that, right? You're ready to embrace the notion of these smaller kind of underground type events. I heard a bunch of scuttlebutt here recently that you were contemplating, and I think made official recently that you were going to try to put together an event such as this, a small participation, invite only type of deal, pay-per-view deal. Can you give us a little bit of an idea what kind of tricks you have up your sleeve?
So this morning, Ozzy Moya, Orlando, he owns Orlando in South Georgia. He sent off to the governor what we're wanting to do right now. At any time safely in the near future, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, in that time frame or whatever, when they decide, we're wanting to do. I want to at least bring in 12 cars, park them 100, 150 foot apart. Just to try to stay within guidelines, each crew having 3 or 4, 3 crew members, 1 driver, a total of maybe, 50, 60 people total, no spectators. And we're ready to do a shootout. I actually, Stevie Jackson and Phil Schuler are locked in. Marcus Bird is locked in. The Deckers are locked in. Melanie Salemi's locked in. David Reese is locked in. So we have the heavy hitters. They're ready to come and race. Hell, they'd come race for free. But we want to try to make it something for them guys, and do some type of pay-per-view, something cheaper. I'm hoping maybe $5, $6, $7 a piece or something. Really, I don't even care if we give it all to the racer. I think that it's something though that we might all need to do. I think that it would help out everybody's mental state if we could get some kind of little shootout going.
So speaking about the racers and transitioning a little bit away from Corona, as a promoter, I know you focus on the racers. How do you go about working with the racers to make your events better?
Well, it's a little difficult right now, obviously, right. But what I always like to do is stay ahead of the curve on what the classes and what they want to do. Like if we need to step up to something different, I don't want to be what I don't want to be. I think by talking to the racers, I don't want to be sitting here 2 years from now doing something that's stagnant, that's just sitting here that nobody really cares about. You know what I mean? If like talking to the racers, I felt like Pro 275, which is, you could call it a spinoff of Radio versus the World. You still have the baddest chassis guys out there, or Mentor Motorsports. Or, you have all the pro line engines, you have all the killer stuff going in, but you're going to find out who's the baddest on a 275. And I think that as long as you're talking to the racers and they want to know that their opinions count for something. I'm just telling you, whether they want to talk to you. And so I think that, if you listen to them and that's what I think is the biggest thing, is to be able to figure out, what's the next class. Don't just get spun out on one thing, Radio versus the World. That's great. I love Radio versus the World, but I also love Pro 275 or, even DXP Street, something where we can keep everybody running the same exact combination. So I just think that you definitely, some people I'm sure don't reach out and talk to them. I like to talk to them because I do like to hear what they got to say.
So recently, the news in the last week has been, Wade Rich has left South Georgia Motorsports Park in Orlando, and obviously, your events have been well known for the track prep, but guys, just home run derby. I mean, just incredible. What are you guys planning to change for your October events to kind of bring that element back into the fold? Now that there's a personnel change.
First, I'd like to say I think that was probably the biggest misstep in track prep history of what he did by leaving Orlando. My opinion, I think that they had a heck of a team. I think it was a bad misstep. I think that I hope he finds what he's looking for. I don't feel like that he will ever get a chance leaving Ozzie Moya. He won't, unless things change. You won't have that radial stuff. You won't have, the West Buck Pro Mod deal that they had, the Pro Stock Pro Mod deal. Like Orlando and South Georgia brought a lot to the track prep thing. I guess what I would say, like, I'm never really worried about, you got to realize, let's say that we did 20 events. Okay. Wade's probably only really prepped about 13 of those events. We've had, other people. So I love Wade. I think he does a phenomenal job. One of the greatest that there is. I just don't understand the move on that part. But what I'm more looking for as far as our races is not the one guy. Like the last race we did, I brought in more of a team to do. What I wanted was not a one-man show. What I thought was more important is the team of people. I want 5 guys that can scrape and drag. And, it's great to have a guy that has the knowledge and go, okay, yeah, we need to spray or we need to drag. But what I want is the team of people there. And that's what, we have now. And
it's incredible insight, Donald. Yeah, it's so true.
I need a team of people. If something happens to somebody, I need somebody else to swoop in there. And that's what I think we have now. So.
Well, I think it's an incredible piece of insight, man. And one of our real goals with this show is to provide value to racers and promoters and team owners and industry members. And I tell you what, I think that was a masterclass on spreading that burden around. And I appreciate you taking the time, Donald. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the racetrack again soon. Obviously, I don't know if I'll be at the COVID-8 or what exactly, whatever it's going to become known as, but I'm excited to get back down there, man. I'm telling you, I missed Lights Out because I had something bad. I don't know that I had what everybody's so afraid of, but I was very ill, and I'm looking forward to getting back down to South Georgia Motorsports Park.
I appreciate it. Whether it's the COVID-8 or the Loco Ocho or the Grade 8 or whatever it is, I just think that, I'd like to get, even if we bring in 10 cars and do an 8-car shootout.
Man, thank you for spending some time with us, man.
All right. Alex, Michael, Wes, thank y'all. Have a great night.
In an effort to kind of touch on this automotive aftermarket industry as a whole, to touch on this group of people and the people that they influence in the industry that we know that means so much to all of us. We wanted to reach out to president of Automotive Fuel Systems Incorporated, a Kansas-based company, God's country as he likes to call it. We reached out to Steve Matusik to kind of take his temperature and get his take on the industry as a whole. How are you, Steve?
Good. How you doing, Wes? Hey, Mike. Hey, Alex. How are you?
It's a weird question to even ask right now how anyone's doing, because you almost know the answer before they give it to you. But we do appreciate you taking the time this week and spend a little bit of time with us when I know everybody's doing their thing to keep their spirits up. You've been doing a lot of press here lately. I'm curious, what's your approach right now just to your business, as your personal business with Automotive? What are you doing right now to keep things headed in the right direction?
Well, we've been very aggressive in cutting back and just being cautious, being very selective with where we're spending money, how we're spending money. Everything we're doing is focused on trying to build product, trying to keep everybody employed, and trying to be very cautious and get through this pandemic. I mean, everything we've been focusing on has been directed to the consumer, trying to communicate via social media and means like this, so that we could tell our industry that we're still around. We're considered an essential business because some of the businesses that we are involved with. So we're just taking it one day at a time, and I'm really amazed how well we're doing. This being mid-April, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't. It was a pretty dire projection, and given the situation and the state of things, we're doing okay. We're hanging in there.
So,
Awesome.
I mean, obviously, the short term, you guys are very highly focused on that, made a lot of adjustments. How does this affect your medium and long term strategies moving through the rest of 2020 and into 2021?
This is, we've never been through this before. This is something we're going to tell our grandchildren about, and I think everybody on this call is built to be aggressive. We're all built to climb the mountain, to take the hill. I've never been in a situation where we had to slow things down. We had to be careful. We had to, think about and not feel like we were in control. And that's what's so strange about where we're at now and looking ahead. It's like none of us really know what the future holds. None of us know if we're going to get back to where we were in 30 days and 60 days in a year. We're just looking at, all the things that we used to do and how we used to do it. And I think this whole process is going to make us a lot smarter going forward. I mean, we're learning how to do more with less. We're becoming more efficient. I hate to say it. I think we're going to be a lot stronger company coming out of this. But man, I hope in a relatively short period of time we could get back to where we were. But unfortunately, I can't plan that way. I mean, we got to look at one day at a time, survival, make sure those people that have been with us for years will be with us. And it's like a big family. You got to take care of the people that have taken care of you over the years. So yeah, it's a struggle. It's tough. We got to resist the temptation to, feel like we're invincible and we can control our own destiny, because, that's how we've operated the company for the past 15 or so years. Now these are some things that are out of our control, and we just have to, take what it gives us and just be careful and very concise with what we do and how we do it.
With that said, you as a racer would understand, how important that is. How do you use your experience as a racer to develop your products and give the most benefit to your customers?
Yeah, I mean, that's been our history, right? I mean, I've known all you so long enough to know that we all know that how we approach things is the racetrack is our skunk works. I mean, that's where we learn about problems. We go out there and we understand the application,
I love that.
or we surround ourselves with people that understand the application, and we work hard to try to make everybody faster, better, quicker, more efficient. And that's the same thing. And that's what I love about our company is we're always learning. We're always trying to climb that mountain. We're always trying to solve a problem. So, and this is exponentially a much bigger challenge as far as I'm concerned, because there's so many things that are out of our control. But but yeah, I mean, we look forward to the challenge. We feel like we're positioned well. We scaled back very quickly. We have very little, if any, debt, and we have very, very good people and very smart people that have been around us for a long time. So I think we're positioned as well as anybody in the industry. I'm just, I've never been pessimistic, but it's just, man, it's hard to get up and be positive. And I applaud you guys for taking all these calls and getting psyched up to have these interviews, and because it's been a trying time, and we all have to put on that happy face and go in and pump everybody up. But man, I just feel like we're all not in control of our destiny, and that's the challenge.
So, I mean, you talked about being pessimist on some stuff, but what gets you excited about the racing industry right now? I know you're heavily involved in SEMA and PRI show and what they bring to the table and support the group. What gets you excited these days?
Well, we've had a lot of success at those trade shows, and now you're starting to, think, okay, are we even going to attend SEMA? Does it have the value? Have those events passed us by? Or my thought process is we need to focus more on things that get us closer to the consumer. With this instant gratification, with the way news travels. I really feel like we have to really focus on things that get us in the consumers, in the racers' pits, get us in front of the consumers, get us in venues that we can communicate with the masses, as opposed to business type activities. I think it's going to be important to try to really focus on business to consumer type activities, which are races, which are events that surround ourselves with the end item consumer, as opposed to other businesses that, let's face it, I mean, we have a lot of relationships in this industry, and we have a lot of customers that sell two-step distribution. Well, at the end of the day, some of our customers are trying to sell fuel delivery components as one of their categories. Well, I'm trying to sell automotive. So sometimes there's you misalign with what their goals are and what our goals are. So we're really focusing on communicating direct to the consumer and trying to educate the consumer, as opposed to going around the consumer and talking to the distributor and relying on the distributor to then communicate to the consumer, which is a lot of these trade shows. So the events that are going to allow us to be closer to the consumer, I think going forward are the things that we're going to be more focused on.
So I have a question that's a little off of that, but I feel like we'd be missing a great opportunity to talk about it if we didn't. Automotive is focused on Made in America, and we know your dislike for manufacturing in another. So
this is like common knowledge, man. This is like a folk story or whatever.
This is a lob shot right here for you, Steve.
Okay, nice talking to you guys. I'll see you later.
So do you feel like, right now is a good time to be that company that is a Made in America company? I mean, especially with what's going on.
You're setting me up, aren't you? I mean,
No. This is, I mean,
absolutely. I mean, look at what I remember, and you guys are all too young to remember this, but when I was in college, there was a marketing class that I was going through, and one of the first campaigns that I saw was a car company, a domestic car company, was trying to sell Made in America type vehicles. And it showed Datsuns back then, and it showed Hondas, and it showed some other vehicles. And the tagline underneath it was, "From the same country that brought you Pearl Harbor," and it showed those cars. So, and again, you guys probably didn't see that, but that's how marketing was back, early on, where when the domestic car companies were starting to fight some of the Japanese car companies.
Funny.
And interestingly enough, I mean, we find ourselves, in that same arena where we've had struggles with Chinese companies, with counterfeit, with knockoff type products. It's been very well documented about our problems we've had and our concern about it, and how they weren't good for the industry. Now, live from China, the coronavirus, right? I mean, so you look at what's happening with tariffs. You look at what they do to, and I'm not saying, I say they, loosely. I mean, it's not a people. It's just their philosophy. The way that part of the world conducts business is directly opposed to the way that we conduct business, and it's unfortunate that their values aren't the same as ours when it comes to intellectual properties and things like that. And it's been a problem. And I think if you were one of those companies that went over there just because of price or just because you thought you were going to make more margin, I think now the pendulum's going to swing. And I think the companies that, have been focused on building it here in America, engineering it here, solving problems, I really feel like that tide is going to turn. And we will see companies like us that are going to be even more successful because of the made in America philosophy that we've employed over our careers.
I'm curious, and kind of as a bookend to this conversation and to start looking forward, Steve, what is the silver lining, or is there a single factor or something that on the other side of this coronavirus pandemic that you're the most excited about or feel will kind of rise to the surface by way of this whole situation?
I think it's going to make everybody more pragmatic. Everybody's going to sit back, take a pause, feel like, just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's better. Or if you see a deal and you're not sure if it's true or not, it probably isn't true. If it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. I mean, we're all going to look at this and say, hey, look, let's be more pragmatic. Let's buy things for the right reasons. Let's not go after the gimmicky quick deals. Let's take care of each other. I mean, let's worry about. And I'm not a Trump guy. You're not going to see me with a MAGA hat. I'm not that guy. I do believe in not allowing the government to control us, and I do believe in free enterprise. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of those notions are ringing true. With open borders, with allowing everybody in, with it's just the world is coming to us now, and we've been spoiled as our and I'm older again than you guys are. We've all been spoiled. We haven't been through something like this, and yes, we're all through 9/11, but this is going to bring our morals back home and make us understand that nobody cares about us. We got to take care of each other, and we got to be, again, more pragmatic. And I think when we come out of this, everybody's going to take a pause. They're going to buy things because of the value, because they'll understand the challenges and why we're doing things. And it's not just going to be about making a quick buck. It's going to be more about doing things for the right reasons, as opposed to doing things because it's easier, or and I have the old saying, and I used to say it to my daughters, and they used to hate it. I used to always say, the lazy man works the hardest. And I think that's true. And we're seeing that firsthand.
Thank you, Steve. I mean, I've got goosebumps. Our audience here on Burnout better get used to that. I get all emotional and up in my feelings pretty quickly. But that was just a great way to end this conversation, Steve. And it's from your mouth to God's ears. I hope we're all holding each other a little tighter than maybe we have in the past, and holding on to our morals and values a little more so than we have previously. But thank you, Steve, so much for joining us. I know you've got tons of stuff going on right now, and you've actually been kind of making the talk show circuit here the last few days. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon. And I hope to see you at the racetrack sooner rather than later.
Well, I hope to see all of you at the racetrack sooner than later. And I'm hoping 1st of June, Gainesville. I mean, if we could get together there for a little party, I'm all in.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Hope we open this thing back up and we're at the racetrack, and I still owe you a ride in that turbo car. So haven't forgot about that, and we're going to make that happen.
Breaking news right here. Well, hey, man, you say when, I'm your Huckleberry, brother. So thank you so much, buddy. Seriously, tell your better half hello. So excited to have you on the show, Alex Laughlin. Man, you are the man of the hour right now. I really think you had a career year in 2019. Headed into 2020 with a full head of steam, fresh off what I believe is, your career-defining moment, a victory in Orlando, Florida at the Drag Illustrated World Door Slammer Nationals. Alex, man, thanks for joining us. How you feeling?
Real good, man. Glad to be here. And, I totally agree. I had a absolute breakout season last year in 2019. And I honestly had kind of just come to realization that it probably won't get better than that. And starting out this season with the win in Orlando, it's off to a good start for sure. And heck, with that being said, if I don't win another race for the rest of the season, that's fine, because that was a big one. And that's all I need.
I got to ask, man. I mean, I know a lot of people are contending with the emotional roller coaster that is this coronavirus pandemic, but how hard was it for you guys to go out of leave Orlando with this full head of steam and all this excitement? You won this big race. You're a couple days away from the Gator Nationals, the kickoff to the 2020 NHRA Pro Mod drag racing season, and then the race gets canceled right as you're arriving on the property. What was that experience like?
Have you ever heard of the term "let the wind out of your sails"? Because that was absolutely the case. We had a ton of momentum leaving Orlando, not only in the Pro Mod car, but in Pro Stock as well. And we had everything that it took to win in both categories, really. We didn't make great runs in qualifying in the Pro Stock car, but we did end up finding an issue that we had. And, unfortunately, we didn't find it until eliminations on Sunday. But with that being said, the car was fixed, and the Pro Mod was good to go. And I had two fast, completely dialed hot rods. And, we were sitting there at the track, awnings up, cars out, ready to roll, the next day. And yeah, it was canceled. And it was a bummer, to say the least, really.
So, earlier in the show, we've talked about what companies are doing to market themselves during these times, and certainly the iRacing on the NASCAR side has been very successful. What have you been doing, for your sponsors to kind of keep, them engaged with your fans and keeping the name out there?
Well, the first thing is I'm a little bit behind, but I ordered an iRacing simulator so that I can get in on that bandwagon for sure. That's especially right now while it's hot. I definitely want to get in on that and take advantage of it. Plus, it looks super fun. Who wouldn't want to do stuff like that? But also, just stuff like this, man. Things that anything you can do content related, whether it's podcast interviews, Skype calls, whatever it
Building a massive Hot Wheels track.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I spent 15 hours putting together this Hot Wheels track. And those guys sent me that stuff towards the end of the season last year, and I actually anticipated and planned on putting that track together over the off season. But between finishing up the NHRA season in November, then I went no prep racing, right after Thanksgiving, then you've got Christmas and everything. I never got around to it, and so I figured, now is the time for sure to assemble all of that track together and just see what kind of contraption I could come up with. And it was awesome. It was a lot of work, but I was pretty happy with how it turned out.
One of the things we talk about a lot is like personal brand development. And you've done, in my opinion, Alex, a phenomenal job of developing a personal brand. You just talked about creating some of that content. Like, what are the tools, or how involved of a process is that for you, like on the day to day? Like, do you wake up going, okay, I got to create content for this platform, this platform, or what's that look like?
Well, to start off, and as far as establishing your own brand, I actually kind of had to start from the opposite side. I didn't even get to start at ground zero. I just start from, the negative side. And, because for the longest time, I was just the gas monkey driver. I didn't really have a name. I was just the guy that drove the car for Gas Monkey. And, since we ended up parting ways back at the end of 2018, I actually finally have had an opportunity to kind of build a name for myself. And luckily, more than anything, that's when I've become the most competitive on the racetrack. And, between, being some competitive, some luck, mix of both, I'll take whatever I can get. But there's definitely a lot to it. And it's a full commitment to be able to create content, even if it's just a photo, especially like times like right now. It's so hard. Like, you can only just post so many photos or videos of, a burnout that we did, 6 months ago, and just say like, oh, I wish I was back. everybody's tired of seeing that. So what can you do to stay one step ahead and just keep coming up with new stuff to keep people engaged? Also a lot of the sponsors that have spent a ton of money. I have contracts with all these people on things that I have to deliver on, and everything's been completely on hold. So even just for me and marketing myself, the more that I can grow my fan following, the more that it grows, the names for my sponsors as well. And so just anything that I can do to stay out in the forefront and market myself and my sponsors, that's exactly what I'm having to do.
So as you've gone about building your brand, I think it's safe to say that you've raced almost every combo of a door car now. What is your favorite and why at this point?
The one thing that I haven't driven is a nitrous car, and I really don't care to. If there was an opportunity that came up that I could, get on the steering wheel, then I would love to. But there's just nothing.
You don't
about
like
it
nitrous
for me
purges?
that is just super intriguing.
Really? Oh wow. Okay. Kind of figured you'd for a nitrous purge guy. I don't know. No.
Yeah. See, and I'm like, come on, like. That's what I'm saying. Like, just hold the button down until the dial gets to where it needs to be and let off. You don't have to do it 16 times, right? So they don't have the ability to do the throttle whack and make it sound like the blower cars. And that's what for me just like really gets my blood pumping and gets me fired up is to back up from the burnout and kick that thing in neutral and just whack the throttle and blow people's hats off their heads. With the nitrous cars. I mean, how boring is that just to watch steam shoot out of that?
Oh my goodness. This took a turn. I don't know. This took a turn.
Like, I would
I don't know how we got here.
I would totally drive one. It's just my least favorite combination. And maybe the reason it's my least is because I haven't driven one.
So what's your favorite?
Without a doubt, my favorite is a blower car. The Corvette's a blower car. The Caruso car is a blower car. And like I said, that's what just like really rattles the car and everything. And that's, to me, that's what
I've had a lot of guys tell me that. Like the badass-ness of it is hard to deny.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, for whatever reason, and I honestly don't even have like a ton of confidence in the car. Like I'm my own worst enemy, and I eat myself up all the time, and beat myself down. But something about whenever you kick that thing in neutral and rev the motor up, it just makes my chest stick out. Like, all right, awesome. Whoever's in the other lane, like, sorry about you.
So coming off the break, obviously we're all chomping at the bit to get back to the drag strip. What's the one event you're looking forward to this year?
Oh gosh, the first one back. Honestly, I just cannot wait. I don't care if it's testing. I don't care what we're doing. I just want to be at a racetrack somewhere with the car there doing something. As far as if I really, really have to choose a race, I'm really anxious to get back to Indy. One, because we won the U.S. Nationals last year. I would love to back that up, especially because race day on Indy this year is my 32nd birthday. So that'd be pretty cool.
Not Ducks race, though. It's not the – I thought, sure, you'd say going to Donald's race and kiss the ring.
And that's where the blower car's going to be.
I totally kiss the ring. I do love Donald's races. And I've had a decent amount of success there as well. Unfortunately, the No Mercy race is on top of the Dallas race now, so I won't be able to go to that. Last year,
chartering planes.
I was pretty ambitious with my plans.
Multiple airplane tickets. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. One of those things you learn from your mistakes. I didn't run well at either race, so I'm just going to pick one this year and to focus on it. But I love Donald's races for sure. I love the Corvette. It is my most favorite car that I've ever been in, and anywhere that I can race it, I want to. But the bottom line is I am trying to compete for a championship in Pro Stock this year, and so I'm taking it extra serious for now.
Well, it's awesome, man. And we appreciate you spending a little bit of time, here with us on Burnout. We like you see this as a huge opportunity for content creators of every shape, size, and form to put their best foot forward and engage people while, unfortunately, they don't have anything else to do. So, Alex, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck whenever we get back to drag racing. Well, and that's it for another episode of Burnout, man. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we crushed it, man. We're painting an extremely wide swath here on the show. I couldn't be more proud. We're talking about to industry people. We're looking at fire burnouts. We're letting Duck go crazy. We're checking all the boxes, right?
Oh, it's great. I mean, Matusik sharing a lot of insight from a manufacturer side was fun to see how they're reacting and adapting to the current state of affairs.
I mean, Alex absolutely just bashing nitrous cars, and
what's up with that guy, man? That was salty. All of a sudden, he's got like some real. He's not afraid to say what he thinks. I got to really give him some credit for that. And Donald, of course, dropping the COVID-8 or whatever he's going to call it on us is, hey, we're breaking news. We're digging up insight and information for the racing community, and I think that we're truly onto something, guys. So thank you so much for joining me, and that's it for Burnout. See you guys next week.